Aliang's true name is Meng Liang. He was born into the Meng family, one of the most revered lineages under heaven. His father was Wen Sheng, the second sage of Confucianism, a man whose teachings emphasize that human nature is inherently good. By bloodline and birthright alone, Aliang was destined to become a towering figure in the scholarly world, a refined gentleman who debated principles in the Confucian temples and shaped the moral backbone of the world. But fate, or perhaps temperament, had other plans. From a young age, Aliang despised reading classics and memorizing doctrines. Where others saw wisdom in books, he saw chains. His heart yearned for freedom, for the martial world, for the sound of swords clashing and wine splashing from cracked gourds. He wanted to roam the world without restraint, to live as a swordsman unbound by rules. Thus he introduced himself with a line that perfectly captured his character. "My name is A Liang. Liang is in good-hearted. I am a swordsman." In Sword of Coming, many say Chen Ping'an is the true protagonist of the second season, but from the moment A Liang appeared, he completely stole the spotlight. Escorting students across perilous lands, challenging the authority of the Dali Imperial Palace, cleaving the false Baiyu Jing in two with a single stroke. His screen time was brief, yet every scene left an indelible mark. He did not need elaborate build-up or prolonged battles. Aliang's presence alone carried overwhelming pressure. That is why audiences quickly fell in love with him. But admiration aside, the real question remains, how strong is Aliang truly? In the world of Sword of Coming, Qi cultivators are divided into 16 realms. Throughout history, only the former Lord of the Heavenly Court ever reached the legendary 16th Realm. The 15th Realm is occupied by figures so transcendent that they are nearly myths. The Supreme Sage Master of the Haoran world, the Tao ancestor of the Qingming world, beings who rarely act and almost never descend into worldly affairs. Because of this, the four great worlds generally regard 14th Realm experts as the pinnacle of combat power. These are the beings who determine the rise and fall of dynasties, the balance between worlds, and the survival of entire races. Aliang once stood firmly at this level. He was a genuine 14th Realm greatsword immortal, a figure whose name alone could silence nations. Later, for various reasons, his realm fell to the 13th, but even then his strength remained absurdly terrifying. The gap between realms in this world is not linear, it is exponential. To those below, the difference might as well be the distance between heaven and earth. Some people jokingly compared Aliang to early Chen Ping'an, asking whether someone so strong could even defeat Zhu He, a mere 5th Realm martial artist. The comparison itself is laughable. A 5th Realm martial artist is not even qualified to be measured against Aliang. Even if 10,000 Zhu Hes joined forces, they would still be nothing more than dust before him. It would not take a sword strike. Aliang's casual movement, perhaps even the pressure of his aura, would be enough to wipe them out. If a more serious comparison is needed, then consider Song Changjing, the Dali prince. Song Changjing once arrogantly claimed that with one hand he stood at the 14th Realm, and with both hands he would reach the 28th. Of course, that was nothing more than bravado. After being thoroughly beaten by Li Er, Song Changjing barely reached the 10th Realm of martial arts. Even so, he was still regarded as one of the strongest figures within the Dali dynasty. Yet when Aliang challenged the Dali Imperial Palace, Song Changjing could not withstand even a single ordinary attack. There was no grand duel, no exchange of techniques, just utter defeat. The gap between them was so vast that resistance itself was meaningless. The Dali dynasty, which appeared unshakable to countless cultivators, was like paper before Aliang. He walked into the Imperial Palace alone, as if strolling through an empty courtyard. The pseudo-Baiyu Jing, a formation said to be capable of killing anyone below the 13th Realm, was shattered by Aliang with a single sword strike. The Dali Emperor's longevity bridge, the symbol of imperial authority and destiny, was destroyed just as easily. In that moment, the entire dynasty was reminded of what true power looked like. If Chen Ping'an at that time could be described as someone only a few levels into a game, then A Liang was a max-level character who had already broken the system. His strength alone was enough to make the heavens cautious. But raw power is only one part of A Liang's story. To truly understand him, one must understand his relationship with Qi Jingchun, a bond built not on swords, but on words, ideals, and shared fate. That relationship began with Wen Sheng, Qi Jingchun's teacher and later the sage of literature. Wen Sheng was once nothing more than a poor old scholar living in a humble alley, yet his mind was sharper than any blade. He openly opposed Yaxing's doctrine of inherent human goodness, boldly declaring that human nature was inherently evil. Such words were heresy in the Confucian world, especially when spoken against a sage. When Aliang heard of this, he was furious. To him, this nameless old scholar was insulting his father and the very foundation of Confucianism. Without hesitation, A Liang decided to confront him, intending to use force if necessary to make him retract his words. Yet when he arrived, sword aura surging, the old scholar showed no fear at all. Instead of retreating, Wen Sheng calmly debated Aliang, countering every argument with precise logic and profound insight. In the end, it was Aliang who was convinced. Although Aliang hated studying, he deeply admired true wisdom. From that day on, he regarded Wen Sheng not as an enemy, but as a friend. The two became close companions, often drinking together, arguing philosophy one moment and laughing loudly the next. Through Wen Sheng, Aliang also came to know his disciples. Among them, the youngest and most outstanding was Qi Jingchun. At that time, Qi Jingchun was handsome, brilliant, and deeply favored by his teacher. Yet his heart was restless. He often approached Aliang, expressing his dissatisfaction with scholarly life. He wanted to roam the martial world, drink the strongest wine, wield the fastest sword, and ride the finest horses. He longed for the freedom Aliang embodied. When Wen Sheng overheard these words, he panicked. He feared that Aliang would truly take his beloved disciple away from the path of scholarship. He even confronted Aliang with a desperate resolve, as if to say that if Aliang dared to take Qi Jingchun, he would fight him to the death. Aliang understood both of them. He knew Qi Jingchun's yearning was genuine, but he also saw his true talent. Qi Jingchun was born for scholarship, not swordsmanship, so Aliang refused him with a single sentence. Xiaoqi, the martial world is nothing special. It was a rejection, but also a form of protection. Because of his close relationship with Wen Sheng's lineage, Aliang was later jokingly called the strategist of the literary lineage. He witnessed Wen Sheng's rise from a destitute scholar to the sage of literature, seated upright in the Confucian temple. He also witnessed the flourishing of that lineage, only to watch it all collapse during the struggle between the 3 and 4. After Wen Sheng's defeat, he accepted the outcome and imprisoned himself in the Merit Forest. His statue was lowered again and again, eventually removed from the Confucian temple and smashed. His disciples were scattered across the world. Enraged by this injustice, Aliang drew his sword and caused chaos at the Confucian Academy Palace. For this, he was punished by his father and banished to the Sword Qi Great Wall. It was there that destiny reached its climax. During the 13th Great Battle between the Demon Clan and the Sword Qi Great Wall, Aliang became the final hope. Facing an Ascension Realm, Great Demon, he raised his sword and slew it, securing victory for humanity. On the wall itself, he left behind a massive character, Meng. It was both a declaration of strength and an affirmation of his identity as a son of the Meng family. In the animated series, after returning from the Sword Qi Great Wall, Aliang was invited by Qi Jingchun to retrieve the old sword from Liju Cave. But before he could arrive, Qi Jingchun was besieged by countless forces and ultimately sacrificed himself to protect the townspeople. When Aliang learned of his death, the carefree swordsman was devastated. Perhaps for the first time, he felt true regret. If he had known this would be Qi Jingchun's fate, he might never have rejected his dream of the martial world. From that moment on, Aliang changed. He sought justice for Qi Jingchun, and he wanted to see Chen Ping'an, the disciple Qi Jingchun accepted on behalf of his teacher. That is why Aliang appeared as an escort, deliberately concealing his strength, quietly testing Chen Ping'an to see whether he was worthy of carrying on that legacy. Behind every joke, every careless word, was the weight of friendship, loss, and responsibility. A sword that, once drawn, would never retreat. And so, this is Aliang, a man who laughs loudly, drinks freely, and walks the world as if nothing can bind him, yet carries on his shoulders the weight of sages, friends, and an entire era. His sword is not merely a weapon to kill enemies, but a response to injustice, a farewell to old friends, and a silent apology for regrets that can never be undone. He once stood at the peak of the world, fell from it, and still remains someone no dynasty dared provoke lightly. Qi Jingchun's path ended in sacrifice, but his will did not disappear. It continued through Chen Ping'an, through the old scholar's final hopes, and through A Liang himself, this seemingly careless swordsman who, at the most critical moments, never hesitates to stand at the front. Perhaps the martial world truly is nothing special, just as Aliang once said. Yet it is precisely this unremarkable world that gave birth to bonds strong enough to move heaven and earth. In the end, Aliang keeps walking, wine gourd at his waist, sword at his side, laughter on his lips. But every step he takes echoes with the names of those he has lost and the promises he has yet to fulfill. This is the charm of Sword of Coming, and this is the legend of Aliang, a swordsman who seems free and unrestrained, yet is bound forever by friendship, righteousness, and a blade that points only forward. If you love Donghua, then you already know the struggle. Low-quality streams, missing episodes, delayed updates, or subtitles that ruin the experience. That's exactly why Donghua app exists. Donghua app is built for true Donghua fans who want the best possible viewing experience. Every episode is available in multiple video qualities, all the way up to stunning 4K resolution, so every fight, every technique, and every cultivation breakthrough looks crystal clear. No more waiting or searching everywhere. Donghua app provides daily updates, making sure you never fall behind on your favorite series. The moment a new episode drops, it's already waiting for you. Worried about understanding the story? Donghua app supports multiple subtitle options, so you can fully enjoy every plot twist, hidden detail, and powerful moment, no matter where you're watching from. From epic cultivation battles to emotional breakthroughs, to legendary characters rising step by step, Donghua app brings it all together in one place. If Donghua is more than just animation to you, if it's a journey, a passion, and a world you love to return to, then Donghua app is the app you've been waiting for. Download Donghua app today and experience Donghua the way it was meant to be watched.